Alright, what's up, Beaufort Tabletop Gaming fans, subscribers, whatever. Mac here. I wanted to show you guys how I set up a table. Not because I'm any sort of massive professional, but I have some cool table tricks that kind of help pull the board together and break up some of the lines. So I wanted to share that with you. Part of the reason is one of my buddies, Jim Kelly, who is not the quarterback, showing my age there. He is the Tabletop Engineer on YouTube. Check him out. But he does a magazine called Bexham's Bazaar, and it's got a bunch of really cool stuff for gamers in it, since we don't really have a magazine anymore. No Dragon magazine or nothing that really is directed towards gamers these days. So he's been doing that. It's an online magazine. Check it out. Anyway, he asked me to write an article about, he called my tables dioramas, or dioramas, however you want to say it. So I wanted to show you guys how I do it and the little tricks that I use to make the table kind of pop and break up all of the lines. And it doesn't work for every game. Larger unit games it really doesn't work for, because it's very terrain dense, but it works for a lot of skirmish games. So you could do Free Blades, you can do Ragnarok, you can do Relic Blade, you can do Frostgrave GA, you can do Frostgrave. So really any of the skirmish games it works really, really well for. So I'm going to get started and I'm going to show you. I just randomly grabbed some stuff. I have a 2x2 mat right here. This is teddy bear fur. I made this mat. It was a light brown with black streaks in it, and I just painted it with watered down acrylic paint and wet blended everything while we were painting it. And then when we were done and it dried, you have to take a comb and comb it out. That's the hard part. The rest of it's easy. So I'll show you what I do here. I've got a few terrain pieces. I'm going to put some bigger ones here in the back. So these pieces right here, these two pieces right here, all they are is expanding construction foam based on a piece of XPS foam, and just sprayed, let it dry, and then take an old steak knife to it. And then the nice thing about that is that you can spray prime the expanding foam, where if you spray prime this stuff, the XPS foam, it'll eat it. And obviously this is just a piece of XPS foam. Then again we have this guy right here, another piece of expanding foam. Then I got these. I like these. I made these. Again, these are super easy. So this is a little tar pit. Got some plastic plants from Hobby Lobby, some lichen also from Hobby Lobby, and rocks from either your yard or Hobby Lobby. I got these from, or Michael's. I think I got these from Michael's, you know, with the 50% off coupon. And I like these because they're flat and they're easy to work with. But all this is a piece of cork and a whole bunch of hot glue done on a piece of parchment paper so that you can pick it up, and then painted so that I got a little tar pit. So I'm kind of setting this one up for Ragnarok because we're going to play tonight. So I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone. So I got another one of these little tar pits here. I like them. Thought they were pretty cool. Put that right there. Turn that around. And then this cool thing. Pretty sure I got this one at Michael's too. I can't remember the brand of stuff that they have, but it's awesome. And since we're playing Ragnarok, I'm going to put this little Thor idol that I 3D printed in there. Just kind of put that towards the middle. Then I have, sorry about that, got a little treasure that I 3D printed. Don't know what scenario we're playing, so I'm just going to throw that in there somewhere. And then I think I'll add maybe a tree or two. And then we'll call this basically done. And these are just, you know, the Christmas trees that you get from Walmart or Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and they're flocked white, and you just spray paint them green, roll them in some, or put spray adhesive on them and roll them in uh, flock, and then you change the color of them and make them green. So next thing I want to show you is, so this is a pretty cool board. This is a neat board. I would like to play on this. Most everybody I know is like, oh hey, that's a cool board. But I like to kind of take it to the next level. And for me, what that means is breaking up the lines, like right here. You got this harsh transition between terrain pieces, all these harsh transitions going from one thing to the next, and I like to try to smooth those transitions. I know it sounds crazy. I'd like to take credit for this, but I can't. When I was still playing 40K, there's a guy who does battle reports on YouTube, his Striking Scorpion, and I saw him doing this and talking about this, and that was when I was like, oh, that really makes the board pop. So that's, now we go to the next step. So the way we do that is a couple of different ways. You can go this route. So individually based, again, these are these little plants right here, and they come in a sheet, so you get about 20 or 30 of them. So this guy right here, and then you can kind of scatter those around. I like to, I've got them on flat pieces of styrene that I have a 1-inch hole punch, and I just punch them out, and boom, there they are. So got several different kinds. Use them all over the place if you want, depending on how dense you want it. I'm not going to go much more than that. I just wanted to show you those. But there's a million different types that you can pick up. And if you don't want to do the hole punch thing, you see this one's just on one of the little wooden circle bases. Also, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, AC Moore, any craft store that you go to, they're going to have that. So, Dollar Tree is your friend. These things right here, the little moss-covered styrofoam balls. This is them right there. The faux moss stones, Floral Garden, 10 count at the Dollar Tree. By themselves, they kind of stink. They're not really, I haven't really found a good use for them besides what I'm about to do, and that's just kind of putting them around the board to kind of fill in some of these spaces, especially under these trees. I haven't done anything with the bases of these, and I'll get an overhead shot when I'm done setting this up so you can see what we've done here, and just kind of put those around. I'm not going to put all 10 on there. See, that's one of the things you got to watch for, is the styrofoam poking through. Yeah. So, all right, so we got a few of those on, 7 to be exact. Got 3 left in the bag. And then we go to the next phase. The next phase is rocks. These rocks I got at a thrift store. That's the brand, Deco Depot. Never heard of it, but there it is. Looks like it was not from the States, but I got it for $1.50 at the thrift store, because thrift stores are your friends too. And what I like to do is take a little handful, and then again, I'm just kind of breaking up those lines along the edges of my terrain pieces. So drop them along there. Kind of makes a more natural transition between your terrain pieces. And it really doesn't take that much longer to set up. I suppose it would if you were setting up a 4x6 table or a really big table or something like that. And you can get all kinds of different colors too. I do some underwater games, and I've got some green ones and blue ones and black ones that go really well. Again, I'll get an overhead shot. I'll kind of fly around the table with the camera when I'm done setting it up, just to give you an idea of what we're doing. So the next step is another one that is pretty easy and it's pretty cheap, and that's this one. Bam! Box O Lichen. Again, this is doing the same thing. It's just breaking up those transitions between your terrain pieces. And I buy all kind of different colors, browns and greens. I have blues and purples and stuff like that too. Again, that's for my underwater terrain. But you just use these to break up the transitions in between stuff, like so. That's a blue one. We won't put that on there. No underwater stuff here. So you can see you don't have to put a whole lot of it. And you can decide before the game if you want any of it to count as cover or difficult terrain or anything like that. For the lichen and the rocks, we don't usually count that as anything except making the table look cool. And then the very last step that I do is you have all this ground here in these spots right here. And it's like clean. It's kind of like this is your wilderness scene in your ruined temple with your moss covered rocks and your treasure pile and your idol to Thor, and the maid came through and swept up and vacuumed the carpet. So I have a mixed bag of coarse flock, just a bunch of different greens in there, and it's got some lichen in there from several years of me using it over and over again. And again, as much as I'd like to take credit for this, I can't. This is, there's a guy that consistently goes to Siege of Augusta, Bob Moon, and he does muskets and tomahawks. Sets up a killer table. And this, when I saw him do this, this was the icing on the cake. It just really pulls the board together. So all I do is I grab a handful of it, and then I just sprinkle it around the board. And I don't really care if it clumps up in certain areas. I mean, if it gets a huge clump, I'll break it up. But for the most part, I'm just going to sprinkle it around the board. And again, this is only a 2x2 board. We would play a game of Relic Blade on this or something like that. We run a lot of our demos of games on 2x2s just because it's a lot easier to transport. Most of the games I play are 3x3, 4x4. But sometimes when I go to conventions to demo, I'll be demoing 2 or 3 games, and taking that much terrain is a lot. So I'm trying to pare it down to 2x2 tables and see how that works. And then of course the last thing we need on the table, wouldn't really be a game if we didn't, is my Viking. I know he's got snow on his base. That's why I hate integrated bases. So I had to put snow on his base because he's a Viking and he looks like he needs snow on his base. So we put him in there. Bam! There we go. And then that's how I do the tables.